Greetings, family, and welcome to another episode of Ask Dr. Mumbi. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray, family, that you are well in all your ways and that you're living in your own narrative, at least as much as possible. Because the current group consciousness that a lot of people were living on is collapsing to make room for a brand new group consciousness. But as it's collapsing, family, you know the way they say the kicks of a dying horse are the most dangerous or some shit like that? Excuse my French. Oops. As it's collapsing, if you are too attached, if you're too tethered to Babylon, you will collapse with it. So that's why we've been working so hard on mentally extricating ourselves. We acknowledge the ancestors in the wind. We acknowledge the ancestors in the wind. Family, there was no wind. We're just so honored that we never move alone. Oh, we're so honored that we're always surrounded, especially in this season, family. I told you, some of us are more protected than, the presidents of this world, but those are stories for the day. Special shout out to everyone that supports us on Patreon. Whoa. We give thanks. We honor you. Special shout out to everyone that supports us on Patreon. We appreciate, love you so much. Definitely consider supporting us on that platform, family. There are different stories that we've released there. We recently did a show on our main channel talking about getting your immunity up because they are starting to lock down certain countries. So there's a video we've posted about some herbal tea, like the magic tea that Mama Nasira taught me to make. So that video is only available, unfortunately, on Patreon because of many issues of, these YouTube platforms, family. So definitely consider supporting us or joining our platform for other information that we'll be sharing there that we can't necessarily share here. Because the only way Babylon is able to implement their story is with censorship. So they'll do anything to control the narrative. And with everything that they do to control the narrative, that should confirm to you how important the narrative is. But I've been getting one or two questions. I did release a show the other day where I was talking about, did you pass the test of 2023? Definitely check it out. And I did get one or two emails where people were asking me about, there's still some things, there's still entrapment here and there. They still feel like they're being affected by the negative intentions of others, be it their family, be it their spouse, whoever, the enemies of their soul. And they were asking me, what do we do? Someone asking, how do I stop this? How do I stop that? Family, the biggest key to my liberation was speaking up, was telling my story. And I'm so grateful that I have this platform and I have you guys to listen to my story and to give me all the positive feedback that you do. But for me, when I started to tell my story, I started to break free. Especially when I started to tell my story about, what happened to me as a child. And what was heartbreaking is that there was so many people who had gone through the same thing. And it's been a deep journey, family. Epstein Island wasn't just in wherever it is. There's so much that has been done in Africa, family. Some of us who went to boarding schools are now realizing that we were most likely sexually abused in those institutions. And some of them were very high end. All these elite schools that you see in Africa, which are British system boarding schools, where our parents thought they were taking us somewhere, that would change our lives. There's so much that is emerging now, family, of why across Africa, we have a traumatized elite generation. groomed in the so-called private schools that their parents thought they were sending them to help them. So there's so much that is emerging, family. The rabbit hole runs deep, where now people are starting to realize, like, if they went to private school, some of us have zero memory of what happened to us when in boarding schools and things like that. Were we drugged? Were we taken advantage of? Because there's certain things that we all have in common. But maybe I'll do a whole separate show on that. But family, for me, the thing that set me free was speaking my truth. Even if it means speaking it to yourself and know you're never alone. So even if you're speaking it in your room, even if you're writing it down, writing it out, bring it out of you. Because it's already done. That's done. It's in the past. But the memory is still living in you. And that's why it's poisonous. That's why it feels like you're reliving that timeline. And that is what ties you to certain timelines. That's why some people feel like they're trapped in their 7-year-old self, like the 7-year-old who was, touched inappropriately by their uncle and their mother didn't believe them and all these things. Some of us, these things create, like, these are the traps and the stuckness, the heaviness that is created. Because there's so many old little stories, old little narratives, family, that are holding on to us because we just haven't acknowledged them. We may be so hurt, so broken, so angry, which is why I say make healing your priority, because everything else is being taken care of. As I've told you, we've moved into spiritual time, family. And there's been a very intense, energetic war going on in the world since around 2012. And we're now hitting we're now at the climax. We're now at the end of the movie. That last 15 minutes of the movie. That's what 2024 is going to be. In like an action movie where everything happens, but somehow we will emerge on top. So speak your truth, family. And, now you can even speak your truth anonymously, online, or just to yourself, journal about it, because you need to get that out of your muscle memory, out of your body memory, so that you can finally break free from, all those narratives. And it's these narratives and these storylines, it's those storylines that provide a matching vibration for the enemies of your soul to continue to attack you, to continue to try and bring you down, to continue to try and derail you. So the more you flush out those storylines, the more you speak your truth, family. And for some of us, we were drugged so much as children, God knows what they were doing to us, that we have family, I have zero memory of my childhood. Just snippets here and snippets there. And I'll have friends who will be able to tell you who their teachers, I can't even name one primary school teacher, family. So you can imagine what was done to me. But slowly what I have found is, like, as I speak out, my memory is returning. And of course, being a seer, a psychic, whatever you want to call it, there's a lot of spiritual insight that I'm given by my spiritual team. There's a lot of things that I'm able to see that they didn't want me to ever see. But speaking my truth, family, is what has really released me from a very toxic, narcissistic family, from their destructive desires for my life, and even for their continued negative intentions. Because before I had talked about this, that's why they always, Babylon doesn't want you to talk, because there's something about silence that empowers the oppressor. But once we break the silence, we break the oppressor, family. Babylon and all their monsters hide in our silence. But once they're exposed, that it's a wrap. Like this list everyone was talking about. Can you imagine Naomi Campbell actually has, I don't know if she has a children's home here, but she was even named like the ambassador to promote Kenya. You might find that a lot of East African countries like Kenya, Uganda, children were heavily taken, but those are stories for other days. As you speak on your story, family, even if it's to your own spiritual team, your own spiritual audience, or if it's on a platform like this, if you're being led to do that, please, because our truth sets others free as it sets us free. Speak up, because the truth will make you free. And the shame and the silence and all these things that they made us feel, and how we had to, the self-doubt and the self-hate and all of that. The only way those things are released is by speaking our truth. And some of that truth, it's not easy to come on here, family, and say, I was sexually abused as a child, I was married off, I was sold at the age of 2. It's not easy to come on here and say that. But let me tell you, it has been the most liberating thing in my life. Because the minute I started to speak what had happened to me, I started to heal. And healing is the most important thing, family. Because healing is like a shedding. It's like a releasing of all those aspects of you that are not you. Of all those negative stories that are still walking around with you. And as you continue to speak your truth, you break any control that your family, your spouse, your friends, your colleagues had over you while you were maintaining and living a lie. It may cost you some friends. It may cost you your family. Well, I mean, really, family. But trust me, family, this is the first time that I have been totally disconnected from my physical family. And I had the best, most amazing December, Christmas and New Year's. I had the most fun I've ever had in my life, family, with my chosen family. It was... We acknowledge the ancestor in the winds. With my chosen family. But I had to make that transition because when I started to speak my truth, a lot of the physical family, although I even doubt that at this point, feel I was like adopted or stolen at lost something. And the reason I pause is so that you can absorb what I'm saying. And maybe there'll be other spiritual insight that comes to you, family. But speak your truth and watch all that is holding you back, oppressing you, trying to control you fall away. And it's scary because once you speak your truth, the false matrix in your life starts to fall. And once the false matrix in your life starts to fall, then now you can get rid and make room for a brand new story, which is what we're moving into. But those are stories for other days. Tuko pamoja.